Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice, the podcast for women who are done waiting for the one and ready to become the parent on their own damn terms. We're talking fertility, pregnancy, emotional chaos, and the village that it takes to raise a kid. Sometimes you're crying in the bathtub. Sometimes you're crying because your toddler bit you. And sometimes you cry because you chose all of this. Welcome to Motherhood, solo style. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Choosing Chaos, Solo Motherhood by Choice. I'm your host, Laura. In today's episode, we are joined by the incredible Paige Dempsey, an SMBC mom, dating coach, and a woman whose story is as empowering as the advice that she shares. Paige opens up about navigating the dating world with honesty, confidence, and curiosity. She offers practical tips on putting yourself out there, staying very open-minded, and giving connections a chance before writing them off way too quickly. And beyond her coaching expertise, Paige shares her deeply personal and inspiring story of becoming a mother in her 40s. Her daughter's story and the way she beautifully complements Paige's family dynamic is a reminder that this path to motherhood is unique, powerful, and deeply personal. You're going to love this conversation. Hello, Paige. Welcome to Choosing Chaos.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Can't wait to have more of a conversation about your background, but also your coaching. With that said, Paige, tell me a little bit about your journey to becoming a single mom by choice.
Just jump right in. I am a 51-year-old woman who has a boy who's 12 from when I was married, and I have a girl who just turned 4 last week that had us by myself as a single mom by choice. So I was first a stepmom. I married a man that had 2 kids, and then we got divorced, and I was a single mom, as we typically think of a single mom, co-parenting. And at the same time I was going through my divorce, I lost my best friend to cancer. And so I really needed some time to regroup and get back on my feet and, get my life kind of going again. And after a year or so, I just always knew I wanted to have kids. There's nothing I've done that I've ever wanted as much as that. And I sort of started looking into how to do that. And along the way, as I was getting divorced and as I was separated, dating, and I'm a pretty straightforward person. And I would ask men always, do you want to have more kids or whatnot? And 99% of them either said no or they've already had a vasectomy. So as we all know, just having a man to have a baby is quite a long, involved process. And then you might end up not having the man, but still having the baby. I was like, okay, that's good information. And I just started looking into what's next. At the time that I had started thinking about having a child by myself, I'm, reflecting back on 5th grade sex ed, and I'm thinking, well, I still have my period, so of course I can still get pregnant. But,
Right.
Little did I know, I didn't know much that, the egg quality diminishes and things get a lot harder. I thought I'd be able to have a child because I had my period, but I'm in Omaha, Nebraska, and we have a couple of really good fertility clinics here, but I realized pretty quickly that they weren't used to working with women my age. Now I would have been, I think I was 44, 45, turning 45 as I was beginning this process. I started looking at a clinic out of state that does a lot more pregnancies and working with women who are older, very advanced maternal age. And so I went to...
Which sucks that we have to say that.
Well, it's funny, when I had my son, I was 38 and also considered advanced maternal age, although I didn't feel advanced at all. And my doctor said then I had the same OB for both pregnancies. And he said, Paige, if it's not a problem if it's not a problem. Even when I was pregnant at 46, I didn't go see the specialist or do anything because I didn't need to. I ended up going to a CCRM clinic in Denver, Colorado. I went out there to do a 1-day, you got to kind of say, is this going to work? Does the body still do this? Am I too old? Can it work? And they said it could work.
Right.
And so that sort of began my process. And along the way, I was, looking at donors and sort of just ready to get it going.
Was there anything, well, a few questions there to unpack. One, when you were looking for a donor, was there anything that you took from your previous marriage in your consideration to picking a donor?
No, I don't think that as much. What's more so applicable, I think, is I'm I'm a coach. I do dating coaching and relationship coaching, and I've done a lot of online dating. I'm old enough that I actually met my husband on eHarmony back before apps were like a thing, if people can imagine. So, and had done Match.com when it first came out, and Match.com again after I got divorced and had done the apps. And so when I was thinking, I know a lot of women will post in Facebook groups about looking for a donor. I was more looking for somebody who like fit in our family.
Yeah.
It's not somebody I'd want to date, which is also really weird to be like 45 and looking at 25-year-olds, almost like a dating site, but it's not a dating site.
It is.
You
Yeah.
know, my criteria more were like, okay, same ethnic background, you know, Irish, Italian, German-ish. And my brother has 4 boys and they're all tall-ish. And nobody, like I have cousins who have blonde hair, but nobody in my immediate family has blonde hair. It was just kind of like trying to create somebody that looks like they match
Yeah.
my family. You know,
Yeah.
brown hair, similar-ish background. And then I love school. I love learning. And so then we go into, you know, then you start to get a gist of like, well, those kind of hobbies or those, you know, that doesn't align as much, you know, military. Like we're not really a military family, but maybe somebody else is. And
Right.
I remember, I think there were one or two perfect donors that I was like, this is it, this is the one. And then you like click add to cart
And
something
they're
and it's like,
sold
oh,
out.
sorry, yeah, and they just put them, it's very much like online dating. Like they
Yeah.
put, you know, they had some at some point, or they might have them again. I'm like, this is so unfair. It's like not, it just sucks. And so then you got to kind of regroup and start over. And of course, I feel like I ended up with the perfect donor because I got my perfect baby. But I also looked, you know, they don't often have the adult pictures, at least the sites that I was on at the time. Now this would have been like 5 years ago, but the young picture of the boy kind of resembled my son in some ways too. So I thought, again, I'm just looking
Like you
for
fit.
like you kind of fit, right?
Yeah.
And I got really lucky. Now this is something I didn't realize until later, but I don't remember how this all sort of came to be because I didn't dive deep in like Facebook donor groups, and I don't think I even really knew those were around at the time, but I somehow clicked on like my sperm bank, and then that sort of led me to thinking about, oh, there might be other donor families, and that sort of led me to a donor family group who's used the same donor. That has been actually really amazing. I know you and I mentioned just a little bit about sometimes your village isn't
Yeah.
what you think after you take
Hmm.
this path, but I've been super lucky that the families in our donor group have been so kind and so supportive. And then we have that nice, I mean, it's amazing to sort of see the similarities in the kids. They've had some get togethers. I haven't been able to go yet, but just even if you need to ask somebody, hey, like my daughter has a little bit of a speech delay, that come to find out is not that uncommon in our donor group. Yes, we have a place
Oh,
to go to sort of ask other people, have you had this?
yeah.
Did you do that? You know, since we don't have the donor info.
Yeah, I haven't considered joining any of those donor groups yet, but I have an episode coming up with Erica, and she talks about how her Dibbling group really they get together quite often, and they're all across the United States. And I mean that's opened up my eyes to certain things, but it would help when you go to the doctor and they're asking questions about your genetics, and you're like, I don't know about the donor side. I know some things, but I don't know everything. It would help to have other people to lean into to answer some of those questions, right?
Yeah, and then this is something that I actually haven't really disclosed to that many people, but I assume the folks listening to this podcast, you know, this will be meaningful for. I actually, as I was older trying to do this, I did one round of IVF using my own eggs and the donor sperm and those did not, you know, embryos did not make it to blast. And
Mhm.
I had to sit with that. Now, I had already kind of known from my early conversations with my local fertility centers, like, well, if you're over 42, you're gonna have to use donor eggs. Click. Like they didn't, there was no hand holding, there was no soft delivery. The doctor was just like, well, you got to look for donor eggs. And I was like, well, you're not even like, what?
Wow.
Like, we haven't even I was like, can we just try? Can I just try and see if this works? I mean, maybe my eggs do work. And so I had sort of had that idea in the back of my mind, and we got eggs and we had embryos, but that didn't work. I came home and had to sort of grieve that idea for a bit because it's like all of this I didn't know
Yeah.
I didn't know any, you know, it's like you don't know what you don't know, or I wish I hadn't done this so late, or I wish I would have started this earlier, or I wish I wouldn't have married that guy, or I wish I would have. And so
Yeah.
you have to like, I think, leave a little room for that. But I was focused on
Mhm.
this being the right path that
Yeah.
I then started looking into donor eggs. I actually have a little one who is a double donor conceived
Oh,
Dolly, and she is just the cutest thing. When I look at her still, I just think, I mean, she so fits into my family and our family and with my son. I do imagine sometimes, like, what if my little daughter would have looked like, you know, and that's just the question
yeah.
mark that will never really be answered. But
Yeah.
she is so joyful and so precious that I sometimes think that she kind of like brought herself here. You know what I mean? Like
It was meant to be.
it
Yeah.
just, it's my little, she's my little Dolly. This is how my family came to be. The
Wow.
ironic follow-up that I share with people too sometimes, my ex and I get along a lot better now than we did when we were married. He still drives me crazy sometimes, but the balance is a lot less. And then we are often together now as my son has gotten older and there's soccer games or a tournament or school events. It's where you would just see us and it'd be like, you know, man, woman, boy, girl, and you'd be like, "Oh, what a cute little family." And I'm like, "We're divorced. This is my IVF baby." It's not at
Yeah.
all what people would think, but
Yeah. Nothing came from him for the second one. Yeah. This is all just
yeah.
you're
So
like you
it's
said,
like you
your
would
donor
have never,
baby.
if you were like driving down the street and saw us like playing outside, you know, playing
Right.
catch, you'd be like, "Oh, look at that little family," and be like, "No." Probably was yelling at him like 5 minutes ago, or um,
Oh my.
but it's
So
just the family that I have.
exactly, and it's perfect. Tell me about finding an egg donor because we have not had anybody on the podcast who has used an egg donor. What's that process like?
Well, I think, especially for folks, you know, for women listening to this podcast, the first thing you have to sort of get, I mean, it's a little more involved, I think, than just picking a sperm donor because you're like, oh, genetics, especially if you haven't had a child of your own.
Yeah.
And I at least had, you know, my son just biologically, so I had that already. Egg donor was kind of similar to the sperm donor, although I think what I did is I just started with my fertility clinic and I
Yeah.
looked through their donors. And then
Okay.
again, very similar. I'm 5'8", I have brown hair. You know, I was like, and there seems to be a lot fewer egg donors to choose from. And then, you know, in some places it's like anonymous. I don't know. Along this way too, you're kind of learning, and I should look up what the number is, but there's like, I don't know, 1.2 trillion ways that genes can combine to like make a person. At some point, you have to just kind of let it go, and however the baby turns out. So I just found I found a donor that, again, looking at the younger girl picture, kind of reminded me of me. I mean, I don't know exactly. I think she had on like, I was kind of sporty, like a tomboy, and her picture was like bangs, like I had like little sports socks and like a little, I was like, oh, that kind of looks like a little me. So
Yeah.
ish, you know, the vibe. So that's what I did. And then I went back and I did my IVF, you know, I guess implantation or whatever they call it, when I was 46. And then January, I turned 47 in March and I had her in September
What's her birthday? September what?
23rd.
Okay. My
23rd.
son's is
Yeah.
the third.
Yeah. I love that too because I was scheduled to be induced like the Tuesday following and my water broke on a Thursday, which it hadn't broke with my son because we had to be induced because I was, you know, going too long. I was like, I don't even know what's happening, but I love that she sort of like came again on her own time, you know,
Yeah.
and I just think it's like the greatest blessing.
Yeah.
And I
For
think
real.
this is a little bit of a side, whatever, to this process, but as we learn more about DNA and as we have social media and we have news and we have Netflix and I think we would all be surprised how many mixed up genetic families people have that
Oh, for real.
they don't know that, oh, the uncle was the dad or the whatever was this is a little bit more forward facing now because we have the science and we're like doing it on purpose.
Yeah.
But many families have hidden or unknown or untalked about um, genetic backgrounds.
Yeah.
Interestingly, my daughter, okay, so she's 4, goes to this preschool one of my best friends, who's her godfather, is a guy who's like 9 years younger than me. And he's like, by the way, is she in class with so and so, these twins? Yeah, okay. Well, their mom, come to find out. So the mom is a friend of my friend, even though they're like 10 years younger. She found out late in life that she was donor conceived because
Wow.
her dad had a illness or something that they never really talked about, and so he wasn't able to have kids, and so they go to the
Oh.
doctor here. And so again, I'm just like, there's just a lot of different ways that
Hmm.
families can be made, and so this was the way that my family ended up being made. And again, if you would have asked me when I was 25, I thought I would just be married and have 4 kids, and but
Right.
that did not happen. Here we are.
What's the biggest difference you see parenting with an ex and then also parenting by yourself? Because you get to have the best of both, right?
Yeah, best and worst. I tell women this a lot too. I think this is the part where we have to let go of the idea that having a partner would make it better, because I've done both, and doing it single is 1,000 times easier. 1,000. It's less emotional labor to do it by yourself. So I was
Yeah.
in a unique situation that I had not only a husband, but I had stepkids, and then we had the ex-wife, and I mean, so that alone was tremendously challenging. And I always say my ex-husband is unquestionably a very nice guy, and he's very good at doing stuff, but also he's a guy that is very like emotionally immature at times. And there was so many times that like the baby be crying in the middle of the night and he's still sleeping, and I'm like, don't get the fuck. What is, like,
You could swear here.
when, yeah, it's like you just, it was so hard. And again, I had some added hardness because the step family thing, but like,
Yeah.
I just know if my daughter cries, I just get up. And you don't have the emotional frustration of like, well, I did it last night and you should do it tonight, or I did the bath and you should do the laundry. I left the dishes. No, I made the dinner. I'm like, I don't have to do any of
Just
that.
just somebody fucking do it, right?
You just do it. And you know
Yeah.
what? If there's dishes in my sink, I don't yell. I mean, I just whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
And if
I mean,
there's
I would
not, that's
love
fine
to
too.
have somebody do my dishes in my sink, trust me. But
But then you
yeah.
got to argue with them about like whose turn it is to make dinner and did you get the
Yeah.
groceries and yada yada yada.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I had a baby at 47. I'm like, this is like not that hard. I guess I don't want to sound like privileged when I say that, because I've been really lucky that she's been mostly really good. But
Yeah.
again, even if you step out a little bit, if any of you really talked to your friends and saw what's behind the Facebook facade of a lot of people,
Yep.
I don't hardly know any couples that there's an actual equal division of labor and they actually get along. There's so many women that struggle with the men not being helpful, and it's, I don't
Yeah.
know.
People paint the picture that they want you to see on social media, but behind closed doors, it's a whole different picture, right?
Yeah, and especially as I'm a coach and I talk to people, or
Yeah.
just people know that since I am divorced and I've had a baby, they just tell me stuff. And I'm
Yeah.
like, I could literally go down my Facebook feed and go person by person and be like, I just know a lot of stuff about a lot of people that isn't all amazing. Just because you have Easter and Mother's Day and all these other pictures. Like, no,
Mhm.
no.
Mhm. Wow. As a dating coach, let's switch over to dating and relationships as an SMBC. How does an SMBC shift the dynamics of dating?
I mean, this is a good question. I did write, I think, one blog on this so far. As from my experience, I dated while I was pregnant, and leading up to or during and a little bit after. I'm not really dating right now just because I don't know, life's fine, it's good. I'm busy with
Right.
my
You don't
kids
need
and
to.
whatnot. I think we need to, I mean, I could, you just think you kind of need to sort out not only like the how, but the why. And with dating with anybody, it's not like we can't just be looking for a person to save us or to like make us complete or to make our family complete. It's like at this point, you have to just add in something good or just not be a partner. I'm just trying to think of questions that I see the single moms to be asked on like the Facebook group, like, when should I disclose? And I'm like, I disclosed it very early because this is me. This is my truth. This is my
Right.
life. Like, this is not, I'm not going to do a bait and switch and be like 3 months in with somebody and then tell them. And I will
Oh, could you
tell,
imagine?
yeah, well, yeah. And I will say that every man that I told Like if I met somebody, I don't know, on Bumble or Tinder or something, and let's say
Yeah.
I'm 3 months, 4 months, 5 months pregnant, and you start texting, maybe I got a few messages in, enough to get a little banter going. But without a doubt, every single guy was like, that's totally cool. There was no hesitation, no criticism. I met some in person. I mean, I showed up like 6 month belly. They're like, that's awesome. And I think the reason they think it was awesome is because I was doing it very mindfully and I did it on purpose. And it's like, you're really brave or you're really, so nobody had a problem with it. Now I didn't end up, dating any of those people. But the other thing that I think women in general, moms, single moms, you have to sort of think about, how am I going to put this in my life?
Right.
And when I coach people about anything, be it a job change or be it, family life or whatever, it's like, well, we'll see what happens. Well, I can tell you right now that we'll see what happens that's not a plan. That's the lack of a plan.
Yeah.
And so you have to start thinking, even if I have my child or I don't have my child, that like every Wednesday night, I'm going to make myself free and get a sitter, or I'm going to
Yeah.
trade with somebody else, or every Saturday morning. You have to sort of make the space for it, I think, on the way to like letting it in. Otherwise, you'll just be like, oh, no, I don't want to. And I think that's a good way to kind of get clear about why you're doing it and what you're looking for. And
Yeah. I think back to what you had said too when you first started talking about being a coach is like why are people looking to get into a relationship, and is it so that somebody else sort of completes you? Well, if that's the case, then maybe you need to talk to a therapist because we should be happy with who we are and we just shouldn't need somebody else to fill that void.
yeah,
Would
I
you
mean,
agree with
yes.
that?
Yeah, well, and that had me thinking too. Somebody had just posted about like, that relates to having a child too. I mean, if you're just looking to
Mhm.
have a child to make yourself feel complete, like that's a big burden to put on a baby and a
Right.
child, right? So,
Yeah. Yeah, they
I
should you
think
shouldn't be feeling that
that's
void for with your child
but
for
yeah,
sure.
that's not their job. That's your job.
No.
Yeah.
You said compliment, like somebody needs to compliment your life, and I would say in most of the dating I did in the past, a lot of them didn't compliment my life, and that's why we're here, right?
Right, right. But I think, what I will say, as I've watched the last maybe 5 or 10 years, like I think women are getting smarter. We're tolerating less. We're quicker to pick up on red flags. We're not just always being polite anymore. We're not just like, oh, I need a man at any cost. And I love seeing younger women on social media like, F that guy. He's being rude. Whereas when I was younger, you might have been like, oh, I don't, I have to be nice. No, you don't have to be nice. Like that's a waste of your time and a waste of your energy. So,
Right.
women are getting a little bit more picky, but like in a good way. We're not just like, oh, somebody took me to dinner, I guess. Like,
Right.
it's so
Let's see where it
stupid.
goes.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see where it goes is not a good plan. Yeah, I really would say in terms of dating though, that I think what a lot of women do, again, SMBC or not, is we count ourselves out before we've even done it. Well, nobody wanted to date me because
Yeah.
la la la. Too wet, gained weight, too fat, too tall, too short, too this job, that job, have a baby, don't have a baby, too many kids. And it's like that's not, again, that's not how you approach it. You put
Yeah.
yourself out and say, this is who I am, this is what I have to offer, and like call in the right people. I'm a 51-year-old with a 4-year-old, okay? Recently a toddler. I am not for most people my age. Period. Like most 50-year-old men are going into empty nester, like their kids are in
Yep.
college, they've already launched, and that is okay.
Yeah.
And it just is what it is. And so what does that mean? Well, even when I had my son when I was 38, I was almost 39 when I had him. Still an older mom compared to a lot of people, at least in the Midwest. And I tend to date men who are younger than me,
Yeah.
not because of, oh, this age, that age, but just because we're like in a similar stage. I'm an empty nester, no kids, no little kids, no kids. But
Yeah.
that's not everybody, right? And so I have to leave
Right.
open the idea that there could be a 50-year-old guy who's like, got little kids, love it, keeps me young, let's keep it moving. Again, I think another mistake a lot of women make is we try to predict the outcome or we try to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
ourselves safe. So we go, well, that guy this and this guy this. And I'm like, I hate to break it to you, but the only way you're going to know that is by getting to know them and knowing that. So apart from the
It's
obvious
true.
red flags, like apart from the obvious way to weed people out, you're like, oh, guys like this won't like that. And it's like, You don't know until you know. You have to get to know somebody to know if they're going to be consistent, if they're going to be rude, if they're going to be thoughtful, if they're going to get your humor. You can't decide that after
Yeah.
like one swipe on a dating app.
Yeah, that's a good point. Be more open-minded is what you're saying. What are some common challenges that single moms by choice face when putting themselves out there romantically?
I think the first challenge is always just yourself thinking like, how am I going to make
Mhm.
time for this? Especially because most of us are employed and full-time parenting and tired and whatever. There's that. I mean, I think there's the obvious deciding that you want to make time and deciding how you're going to make time. I
Yeah.
think another thing that's hard for a lot of us is the cost.
Yes.
I don't want to spend $50 or $100 or whatever it is to get a sitter every time I walk out the door. So that's can be challenging. And then I think, trusting somebody like anybody who's dating with kids to be in our lives and not upset our lives and to be in our kids' lives. But this is okay. So those are all like what we would call perceived challenges, but they're all kind of solvable too. Like,
Yeah.
okay, well, I don't want to spend a lot of money on sitters if I don't know somebody. Okay, well, how do I solve for that? In my work, I can meet somebody for happy hour from 4 to 5:30 while my kid's still in the $8 million daycare that I pay for, and I'm not paying for an
True.
extra daycare. So,
Yeah.
an extra sitter or lunch or coffee or whatever. Okay, great. Well, hey, this person wants to meet at a park on a Saturday. Well, could I swap with another mom and like I'll do this Saturday mornings, you do those Saturday mornings? Can I find a mommy's day out? Can I go to the YMCA? Like there's always solutions if you figure out what it is that you're trying to solve for. And again, I think a lot of women are like, "Well, I can't date because it's too expensive to get a sitter." Well,
Yeah.
that's just you have to think, I want to date. How could I do it? How could I work it out in a way that works for me? And then you have to put on like problem solving hat, which being a mom and being a single mom is like your number one skill you need to have to be resourceful and then go, how am I going to do it? I have a lady that I befriended. I think this is a great story. It's actually, okay, I will tell you the story because it's amazing. When Aoife that's my daughter Aoife, when I was doing her bedroom, I put up like peel and stick wallpaper and I had extra. So I put on Facebook Marketplace. I mean, it's gorgeous. It says floral. It's so cute. And this lady shows up to buy it. She's 15 years older than me, so like 65, lives in like a cool part of town. She's like, "Oh my God, I love it. I'm going to put it in my bathroom." Okay, great. And then fast forward, we kind of become Facebook friends because I'm more liberal and progressive, and you just sort of it is online. Fast forward, she reaches out to me a couple years ago and was getting divorced and she wanted coaching. Well, I then coached her through kind of like that transition and dating. Well, as the things keep going, we sort of just become friends. She has a dog. She wanted to travel. We had a couple of dogs. They've passed away. We
Oh,
dog sat for her. And now she is like my daughter's like adopted grandma. She
oh my gosh.
loves Aoife. She is actually going to take care of her tomorrow when she has a day off to take care. This is again, I think something that women need to realize is like you could be people could be anywhere. It's like,
Yeah.
and this lady and I aren't, we're not best friends. Like we're not on the phone every day, but like we just like each other and she loves my daughter
Yeah.
and we help each other out. I think that's another sort of skill that like single moms need to have or to like work on is like you can have a village that's 15 years older or 10 years younger or it doesn't have to be because a lot of us I think also and I don't know about you but I have almost no family support through
Hmm.
for various reasons. I mean you gotta like if you're gonna do this by yourself you're gonna like maybe be doing it by yourself in a lot of
Right.
cases and
Right.
so but that doesn't have to always be that way.
I think that one thing that stands out to me is trust, right? And how do we trust somebody else with our kid? Whether that be somebody who's going to be watching our kid, or when it comes to dating, how do we trust somebody coming into our lives and spending time with our kids on a daily basis? How do you get to that point where you trust another person? Because, I mean, full transparency, I'm a crime junkie. I listen to a lot of stories, I hear a lot of things. And so, like, how do you get to that point?
Trust is an interesting topic of conversation because I think a lot of people think trust is a feeling, but trust is a decision based on information that you have. And so if you keep getting bad information from somebody,
Red flag.
inconsistencies, then you begin to not trust them. And that
Yeah.
could be like, hey, can you let my dog out? And they didn't do it. Or it could be, hey, you're supposed to take me out for dinner on Friday night and no call, no show. Like, trust is built by having connection with people and people showing up and showing you who they are. And then you're like, okay, I think I'll do that again.
Yeah.
And it's just a decision that needs to be made. But I think the most important part of that decision is learning to trust your own judgment and decision making and being able to say, no, that guy is like, maybe he's fun to hook up with, maybe he's fun to party with. That's not the guy or the kind of person that I want around my kids. And that's
Yeah.
fine. It could be different people. The fun person might not be the forever person.
I mean, as a dating coach, how far is that going to get you, right? Dating somebody for fun.
Yeah, and I think a lot of women get that wrong. It's like we start with sex and then try to build a relationship. I'm like, that's a fast way to have like a fast burnout. But I mean, you can do it. It's just not going to be a long-term thing. Another thing that I talk a lot about with my clients, and I'm like working on a little module about this right now, but I think another thing that women kind of miss or that could be helpful is to just sit with yourself, take out a journal, do something, and sort of get clear on like your values.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean 6 foot, six pack, six figures, whatever. Really your values, like,
Yeah.
and whatever that is. And it can be helpful not to just say, I value family, I value travel, but like really getting deeper. So,
Yeah.
for example, I like integrity. I like people who do what they say they're going to do. When we say family, like what does that mean to you? And it can be helpful if you actually spend some time like visualizing, like if I was, if you with your son, like 3 or 4 or 5 years from now, if you had a partner, what would that look like? Well, he
Mm-hmm.
goes to the park with us, like he takes my kid to the park while I'm home making dinner. That's a lot more specific than just saying family. And, I come from a family of origin that has a lot of dysfunction, and I've really separated myself from that on purpose. And so when people are saying, oh, family is really important to me, like you might count me out because I don't
Right.
have a strong nuclear family that I spend the holidays with playing football in the snowy yard like a Mark movie.
Yeah.
But my own family that I'm creating is tremendously important to me, and I show up tremendously well. You know what I mean? So I just think,
Yeah.
um, I think
That's
really
different
step
to
one
everybody.
is, yeah, and the thing that you wanted when you were 25 is probably not the thing that you want when you're 35
No.
or 45, like in my
Yeah.
case. So education, I'm like, okay, I went to law school. I'm a lawyer. There's a lot of assholes that are lawyers. That's not, that doesn't
I
tell
tried to
us
date one.
anything.
I could say that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so that's again, I mean, I'm making fun of my own whatever, but again, women want to make these sort of parameters around don't date these kind of guys or don't date those kind of guys, but you could be a trades man and or woman or whoever and be tremendously thoughtful and compassionate and smart and intelligent and caring, or you could be a doctor, lawyer, or whoever and not be. So the
Yeah.
only way we find out is to like go date
Get to know
them
them. Yeah.
and see how they show up. And
Mhm.
I've really expanded my view in terms of what I'm looking for in that area, in terms of like looks or background or whatnot that I might have, that's just evolved since when I was 25.
It changes all the time. I look back and I was probably one of those girls in my 20s. I was like, I want to date a lawyer. And then I tried to date one, and that was, yeah, not happening.
Yeah.
And now I look at that whole situation and I'm like, big mistakes there, big red flags. Would never do it again.
Yeah. But then you could have another one that's great. I have a friend of
True.
mine who's a single mom with some younger kids, and she connected with and is seeing a guy. She's like, he's kind of nerdy and he likes gaming a bit, but he's so awesome and so nice. And like, so again, there's just a lot of things that we think we know from a few photos or a few, swipes on a dating app that just you really have to just you don't get to skip the part.
Yeah.
Like,
You
you don't
don't
get
know
to
the whole
skip that part.
story. Right.
And he's kind and he's thoughtful and he's considerate and he's funny and he's cute and but he likes to do gaming
Yeah.
sometimes to relax, just like she likes to paint or you like to whatever you do. I think we just have to sort of keep our eyes open. I always talk to girls, women, whoever about data gathering. Like all of beginning dating, at least for 3 months, is like just data gathering. That's it. You don't have to decide if you like them. You don't need to decide if you don't like them. I mean, if you really don't like them, I think you just say you don't like them. But
Yeah.
if you find somebody that you think is like, oh, he's amazing. Well, first of all, nobody's amazing that you've known for 5 minutes. Period. End of story. We don't know that person. Give it a minute.
Yeah.
But second of all, just data gathering. Are
Yeah.
they consistent? Do they show up? Do they pop in and out? Do they, and if they do that, then we have to go back to what are your values? What are
Hmm.
you looking to create in your life? And if you're looking for something that's consistent and feels good to you in your body and like your nervous system, like that guy isn't going to be it.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Where do people date these days, Paige?
Oh God, good question. This has been interesting to sort of watch because I'm not really actively dating right now, but I'm sort of, you see online on like social media, everybody's, oh my God, the dating apps
Hmm.
suck, etc. Where do I go? Well, even in Omaha, where I live, there's single events, there's meetups, etc. Sometimes people pitch friends to like meet each other. I did write a blog about this too, though, that I think was really important, which is to say, I think what a lot of women say is, where are the men? Where can I meet men? I'm sick of the dating apps. Where can I meet men? And my thinking is, a lot of women are saying, where can men meet me?
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Because you can go to a baseball game, you can go to a bowling alley, you can go play pickleball. There's men everywhere.
Yeah.
But I think what a lot of women are saying is, I want a guy to come up and talk to me at the place where the men are. And
Hmm.
so, again, if you want to meet men, I would encourage women to go meet men, like wherever they're at. Like you can put your foot first, like that's okay. Another recommendation that I have is to sort of meet people because I always joke like people know men. You don't need
They do.
like every event doesn't have to be a singles meetup event. It could be, hey, I love knitting and I go to my knitting club and I love my knitting club and whatever. Well, the ladies at the knitting club might know some men,
There might be a
possibly.
grandma there that has an amazingly gorgeous grandson.
Yeah, or a woman my age or a friend,
Yeah.
neighbor. It's
Yeah.
like but then you have to, it's kind of like looking for a job. You have to tell people you're looking. You have to tell people you're open to introductions. It's like, I always think of the lady that I'm friends with who's 65, 7 years old now that likes my daughter. If you don't want to be on the apps, then you need to start thinking, well, how else can I meet people in a way that's maybe stretches me a little bit, but isn't just about waiting for people to meet me.
Yeah. You have to be creative. Think outside the box a little bit more.
Yeah, or just look around. I mean, never in the history of ever was it easier to find things to do on the internet. Like go on Facebook and there's events all the time, or
Hmm.
Eventbrite, or Eventvesta, or whatever. Find a thing that you enjoy and go enjoy it, and then be
You never
open
know
to the
what might
idea
happen.
that you might meet somebody along the way. That would be my advice, is like, being willing to go first or put yourself out there or tell people, hey, will you introduce me to somebody, even if the person you're telling is 20 years older or younger than you.
They might know somebody that is within your age range of dating, right?
Yeah.
Hmm. How do you help women build confidence and self-worth while navigating dating and motherhood?
I mean, that is my life's work, really. That's like the thing that I love to do. I always picture it like when you like put everything from your purse out and you're just like, oh, ugh, like what is all this stuff? And so we sort of look at like what's not helpful and what's old and yucky and what do we want to keep and what goes back in and what do we need to add and like do we need to refresh. The coaching that I do is really about letting go of old thoughts and old beliefs about who you are or who you should be or who you're meant to be, and sort of building up new thoughts and new feelings around what's possible for you and what you want to do with your life. And we have to sort of, again, sit in the discomfort that your mom, your dad, your grandma, your neighbor, your coworker may not like that approach, but this is your life to live, it's not theirs. And so
Right.
I think the biggest hurdle for women in general, a lot of times, is just the people pleasing. Well, what will my mom think? What will my dad think? What did I think? It's like they're adults. They can think what they want.
Yeah.
It's okay if they don't, it's okay if they have uncomfortable thoughts. That's not yours to manage. And so we have to just like literally kind of go through,
Hmm.
why are we trying to manage all these emotions instead of just sitting down and deciding about the thing that we want.
It's interesting that you talk about that because I've been asked by a few people, why did I wait until I was like 21 weeks pregnant to really announce that I was pregnant? And I always go back to the perception that other people might have, right?
Hmm.
Because I'm a single mom by choice. And some of my friends knew around like 17 weeks, but it took me a while to come around to telling them because I was afraid of what people might think or might say or the stupid questions that they might ask. But when I look back on the whole thing, I shouldn't have been afraid because I am a very strong individual and I did this on my own. I've done most of this last year on my own. And honestly, fuck them. If they had any sort of negative thoughts about me making this decision, and there were people that said stupid shit along the way, but this is a choice that I made, and I'm happy with the choice that I did because I love my son. He's the greatest gift I could have ever been given. And it took me a while to have him. And so I am very blessed. I know it can take other women a lot longer, but we go back to that perception of what other people might think. And really, it doesn't matter as long as we are doing what is best for us and then the decisions that we want to make. That's all that matters, really. We throw the rest out the door.
Yeah, I
It
mean,
really
and
doesn't
there's the
matter.
thing is people are gonna have thoughts about you regardless of if you
Oh,
have a baby
yeah.
by yourself or not. Like, I like
Yeah.
your long hair. I don't like your long hair. You should have cut your hair. You shouldn't have cut your hair. You shouldn't have gone to that thing. You should have gone to that thing. Like,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way that people are. And I always like the idea of like coming back to being integrity with yourself. And so I am very much aligned with who I am and who I want to be and how I want to show up. And I mean, my son still goes to Catholic school. I don't really identify with Catholicism anymore based on all of the things. But
Yeah.
I think it's a good community, despite the statistics of divorce being 50% in our, I don't know, country or whatever. It's like I don't know if I'd be hard pressed to find very many divorced people at our school. So I roll up to the soccer game like not only am I divorced, but I'm IVF pregnant. I don't care. Like I don't know if people had thoughts about that. They didn't tell me because I just acted like this is like the most normal thing in the world. I didn't ask anybody's opinion
Or
for sure
permission. Yeah.
or permission. So are there people who think at my son's school that it's too much or it's weird or it's not, traditional? 100% I'm sure yes. Do
Yeah.
I care about those people what they think? 100% I do not. Like I don't, it just doesn't affect me. Like, I think a lot of times we kind of lead by example. Some of
Yeah.
the women I see on the Facebook group sometimes are like, well, the preschool teacher said this and this. I'm like, listen, this is not a normal choice for most people, as evidenced by the fact that most single moms by choice spend probably years coming to the conclusion or the decision that this is the path that's for us. So when
Yeah.
we pop it on somebody and they don't get it right away, I don't think we should take that as like a personal affront. It's just like, oh, I hadn't, okay. Like
I didn't know
it
that was an
might take a
option.
while. I didn't know it
Yeah.
was an option. I didn't know. But I will tell you, as like on this topic, a good story. So I ran to the library this weekend with my daughter. I had to drop a book and pick up a book, and I really had intended it to be like go in, go out. And well, she ran over to the little kid play area and she got involved. I was like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this now. So I just was like looking for books for her. And I went up to the library desk and I asked the young woman there who appeared to be, I don't know, like maybe in her late 20s. And I said, I have a question for you. Can you do some looking? I mean, this is what they're there for. So instead of me spending hours looking on Amazon or the library, I said, can you look and see if you guys have any books about a solo mom, a single mom by choice, donor mom, donor baby, anything like that? And she just was like, oh. I go, do you get what I'm saying? Like I have a baby and she was conceived. And do you have anything in the collection that's about that? And she's like, okay, let me do some looking. And I'm like, great, I'm going to go back and play and you do your thing. Well, she came back over and with another lady, and they had two or three people looking, and they're like, oh my gosh, we have nothing like in this area, hardly at all. But she's like, I'm so glad you told us. I'm going to put in some requests for books because
Yeah.
like we don't have anything in this topic. I go, I could tell you for sure that this is a lot more common than you would think. Like even in Omaha, like I know several people in Omaha. Sometimes it just takes teaching people. And in fact, I told her later, I go, well, do you have anything on dinosaurs? Do you have anything on unicorns? And she comes back over with like a little book with like mommy and me with a dinosaur. Like
Yeah.
I always sort of lead with, I had a baby by myself on purpose. And then that's it. And like, I don't leave any space for doubt or like
Mm-hmm.
feedback. question. I mean, like questioning, yes, but like not
Always someone else.
criticism or whatever. That's just not nobody. I didn't ask.
Yeah.
I did have actually this weekend. I had my daughter's fourth birthday. I told you my ex and I are still cordial or close. He was there with my son, and we were at this. I just did an outdoor like park thing. The weather was nice, and so a couple of the moms. So my son goes to Catholic school. My daughter goes to Jewish daycare, and again, mostly traditional families. And you try to introduce the moms like, well, that's my son William, and this is not, I mean, like, I was like, and that's his dad. And then a couple of them looked at me. I go, okay, here's the story. Like, we got married and we're divorced. And this is, I had like, had Eva as, she's donor conceived. And then they were like, oh, I didn't know that. Okay. So whatever.
And it's cool. Yeah.
So off we go. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
how can women cultivate a strong support system as they're raising a kid on their own, especially while considering dating at the same time, too?
I think that's again one of those questions that like how can women cultivate a strong support system question mark, because I know as I've gotten older that those a lot of times our relationships change as we
Yes.
grow and as we change. I think you were experiencing this as well, that
Yeah.
the friend I had when I was 25 and in her wedding and I are not really friends anymore, and like there's just some shifting that happens. And so if you want to cultivate relationships, again, I think a lot of times that starts with you by saying, hey, Laura, do you want to get coffee sometimes? Or, oh, we're in the same, I reach out to people sometimes and go, given the current state of our administration, we're both kind of progressive leaning. I am, you are, would you want to get coffee? And every time people are like, yeah, that's fine. So, you post in Facebook groups, you go to things, but I don't worry myself a lot about having the most mom friends at the daycare or the most mom friends at my kid's school. I just find people wherever.
Where?
And right now, my circle is a little bit small, and that's okay because that's fine. But um, I think you just have to cultivate your, network anywhere. It could be anybody. It doesn't have to be a mom who's a single mom by choice, who lives in your city, who, kids the same age as you. Like, again, it's never been easier to cultivate relationships given the state of our online stuff. So you go on Facebook, you look for stuff, you join again, even in my city, there's
Mom
like
group.
women over 35, this, walking club, that, brunch club, this, like go to some things and,
Yeah.
start meeting humans.
There's plenty of options out there, especially on the events page of Facebook. There's plenty of things to do, like you
Yeah, and I
said.
think if you also type in it, like sometimes you just if you mess around on Facebook, you'll find like well, there's a walking club for women in Omaha. Okay, there's something called Gals That Brunch that I think is like a national thing.
I
And
think
it's
so.
like they just schedule like once a month they go to brunch, but then this group also does once a month they do a book club. Like so you just have to kind of see, like
Oh,
type in look for groups of different mess around with different words or look on the meetups. Like a guy I know likes to go to this game board place and do a board game meetup with people. Like you just go find stuff and you start doing it.
yeah.
Take a
Lean
lesson.
interests.
Lean into your interests or talk to the mom that's also standing at the yeah, like my little one just started a dance class, and then maybe you start talking to the mom at the dance class, and then maybe, gosh, a couple of weeks ago, we went to outdoor it was a garden thing with this new play area, and my daughter and her daughter just started playing as little kids do. I don't know if you've gotten to that point yet, probably not sure, one's still littler, but and then the mom and I were like exchanging phone numbers. Hey, if you want to get the kid, they played so well together, and if you ever want to like get the kids
Oh,
together again, and we haven't done it yet, but
yeah.
it's not, you just make offers, and then I think the key also is to not take it personally if it doesn't become a thing.
Yeah. Put yourself out
So
there and be open to whatever might come.
be open to it, but don't take it personally. So if,
Yeah.
this lady and I never see each other again, I don't sit here and fret and go, oh my God, we never got together and she doesn't like me. And like
What did I do
it's
wrong?
life, everybody's lifing their life. And it's like people get
Mhm.
busy and I've got a kid. And so I think another tremendously important skill of being a mom and a single mom, especially, is like not taking things personally most of the time
Mhm.
because it would be never ending. We're already self-critical enough and we're already hard enough on things. And so I just figure like, well, that's not something that I need to worry about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you balance personal identity, dating, and motherhood without burning out and working full time?
Mm,
Honestly,
say again. What was the last part?
and working full time and all the other things.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm one of those people that's have the opinion that you've only got so much time and energy in a day, and then you just got to pick where you spend it. And so for me right now, I like spending it with my kids, especially because they're busy during the day and I'm busy during the day. So I don't really want to go on a date and meet a new person on Thursday night or Wednesday night or whatever. But I have done that in the past, and when I've chosen to do that, it's because that's something I've wanted in my life, like more adult things to do or to go out or whatever. So, again, we always have choices to make about how we want to spend our time and energy. I think the wrong way is starting with the word should.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually the wrong way to do anything. Look for a new job, change apartments, have a baby, not have a baby, dating included. Well, I should be dating because they're this and this. No, you always have to start with like, what is the life that I'm trying to create? And right now, the life that I'm creating is pretty simple and not super stressed beyond the daily
Yeah.
operations that require some energy. And that's
Mm-hmm.
great. If I feel like changing that when I'm ready to, I will. But don't hold yourself back out of fear, and also kind of come back to like I think it's always just helpful to like what's the thing I'm trying to like create. And if the thing that you want is just to get out of the house sometimes, you can do that by dating, but you can also do that by like again joining a pickleball league or joining a, karaoke night or
And that's a really good point. I think a lot to take away from that too. What is one thing that you wish more people knew about being a single mother by choice?
oh, it's amazing. I think a lot of women worry about it. I think a lot of women spend a lot of time worrying about how they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, especially
And
financially.
financially is hard, not gonna lie. Financially is
Mm-hmm.
hard. But again, that goes back to my thing where you want to do solution finding, not keeping yourself stuck. Well, I don't know about finances. I'm like, well, then you need data. You need to put down a piece of paper and a pencil and figure out the data
Figure it out.
and the
Yep.
numbers. And then you decide, is that something that I'm willing to do? Am I willing to move to a smaller condo? But I think it's an unusual place to be in some ways because we're really directing we're really being decisive about how we want our life to go, not just waiting for somebody else to pick us and marry us and then impregnate us and then have a baby when it happens,
Yeah.
you know.
Could be waiting a
But
while if
that's
that's what you're waiting on. But
yeah, but it's like also really empowering too. Like
Mhm.
you get to do this, and I do think it's important to know that you just don't know what's going to come. And so when you think,
Yeah.
oh, I'm gonna have a baby, I'll never be dating somebody. I'm like, that you have 40 more years. Like, like you don't, how will I ever travel if I have a baby? I'm like, you just look around at all the other people that are traveling and you just take your baby and you bring a backpack. Like, this is not,
Yeah. You ask
I
them
think
how
we
they're
let the
doing it and you do it.
fears, yeah,
Yeah.
I think we let sometimes the fear
Mhm.
of the unknown become something that we think is a tangible, real fear instead of going into like problem solving mode, which again, as a parent, is like all day, every day. You're just like, how do I figure it out? How do I resource it? How do I share? How do I, knock on your door? I mean, some of my other friends that I spend time with are single moms with kids who are in divorce, not a single mom by choice. Whatever, go to the park and play together. Like
Yeah.
it's just like finding out how to do it, just the way you problem solve at work, just the way you problem solve um,
Being a
anything.
parent.
Yeah, it's just, oh my God, it's just great. If this is something that women are thinking about, it's a little bit science, it's a little bit magic, and it's a little bit just sort of like you got to go forward and then you kind of get what you get. And
Mhm.
you got to figure out how to do that.
Right. And you won't know until you try. You know, sometimes it takes a lot longer, like we said earlier, for some than others, but you won't know the outcome unless you try. And if you're thinking about it, just do it. You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, I think another last little bit of advice I would have too is like do research, like the single mom by choice Facebook groups and whatever are like helpful to a point, but don't do it
Mhm.
to the point that you're paralyzing yourself with a decision.
Yeah.
Find out kind of the process, find out options, find out, do I need IUI or do I need IVF? ask a few women, scroll the posts if you want to. What's been good, what's been bad, what's been hard. But like then you just have to leap a little bit and
Mhm.
not let somebody else's experience be a fear that like holds you back, right?
Yeah.
Or how will I do it? Or because again, a lot of times most moms in the history of at least Western civilization have been the primary caretakers anyway, even if you were married. 99% of the time you'd be the primary caretaker, plus you'd have an older kid that your husband that you're mad isn't taking care of himself. So
Wait, are you saying your
I
husband's
think
another kid who's
no,
not
I
taking?
mean like most
Okay.
women, I'm
Yeah.
divorced, but like a lot
Yeah.
of women are like, oh my God, it's like having another child, only it's then you have resentment because they should be able to take care of themselves.
Paige, where can people connect with you or learn more about your coaching work?
Yeah, PaigeDempseyCoaching.com. So it's right on there. I'm really always open to like having just conversations with people. So if you ever need a chat, you can just like book a call on my website. And that doesn't mean you have to work with me as a coach, but I've just this my coaching work and coaching experience has really changed my life in a lot of positive ways and changed my relationships with others and with myself in a lot of ways that I think are tremendously beneficial. If anybody is interested, I would love to connect and talk more.
Thank you for plugging your work. And it's been a pleasure speaking to you, Paige. I'm very happy that we had this opportunity to do so.
Well, I'm glad you're doing this podcast. I think it's really important. And so thank you for having
Thank
me.
you. Of course. Yes, absolutely. Anytime. Thank you so much for joining us for this heartfelt and inspiring conversation with Paige. Her wisdom around dating, self discovery, and staying open to connection is something that we can carry forward. Whether you're navigating relationships, parenthood, or personal growth, her journey to becoming an SMBC in her 40s is a beautiful reminder that our families can be built in a very meaningful way. As Paige shared, sometimes choosing the path of an SMBC means embracing a little bit of chaos along the way, trusting yourself enough to step into the unknown, rewrite the roles, and build the life that you want on your own terms. If that resonates with you, you're in the right place. If you want to learn more, continue the conversation, or dive deeper into our community, be sure to join us on TikTok, Patreon, and Instagram. Until next time, thanks for listening. And remember, your path is your own path, and it's never too late to pursue the life that feels right for you.